Now moving on to sampling bias. So sampling bias is created when a sample is collected from a population and some members of the population are not as likely to be chosen as others. When sampling bias happens, there can be incorrect conclusions drawn about the population that is being studied. So in order to reduce sampling bias, you want to approach your sampling with critical evaluation. So what do we mean by critical evaluation? So we need to evaluate the statistical studies and read about them critically and analyze them before accepting the results in the studies. Common problems to be aware of include a self-selected voluntary response sample. So these are responses only by people who chose to respond. And typically, people that choose to respond, like mail order surveys or surveys that are actually online, are people that are maybe strongly positive towards an issue or strongly negative toward an issue. Typically, people that are somewhere in the middle do not participate. Another area of sample bias is in taking small samples. So samples that are too small may be unreliable. So if you've got a population of 1 million and maybe you take only 5 members or 5 units from 1 million, a population of 1 million, it would be possible that those 5 are not characteristic of the entire population of 1 million. Undue influence is another area of sample bias, and this would be collecting data or asking questions in a way that influences the response. So examples would be loaded questions. Another area of non-response is actually refusal of the subject to participate. And actually, this is kind of what I talked about as far as voluntary response samples. So a non-response would be maybe people that are in the center of an issue, neither strongly positive or strongly negative, but somewhere in the middle. Another area of sample bias is in the assumption of causality. So what is causality? A relationship between two variables does not mean that one variable causes the other to occur. And some place where you see this idea often is in terms of correlation. And correlation does not imply causation. And this is something that we will look at in more depth later. Another area of sample bias is in self-funded self-interest studies. So this would be a study performed by a person or organization in order to support their claim. So for example, this would be like a tobacco company funding research, and the results of that research say that smoking is actually healthy for you. So the tobacco company has a vested interest in the results of the research turning out a certain way. So that would be an example of a self-funded or self-interest study. And then finally, misleading use of data. So improperly displayed graphs, incomplete data, or a lack of context. And I would say it's not only incomplete data, then also fabricated data. So adding data values that are not true, were not observed, but are put in there to make someone's case stronger.